we talk about cleaning firearms, we're again going to use the SAFE acronym. So what does SAFE stand for when it comes to cleaning? Well, S is going to be securely unload. A is going to be all parts removed. F, fluids clean and wiped. And finally, E, ensure functioning. So we're going to start off here by setting aside the revolver. We're going to work with a Glock style semi-automatic pistol. Now the most important thing you need to know about any firearm cleaning is that you should read your owner's manual, because each one has some different nuances to how to disassemble it and how to properly clean it. But we're going to show you a general cleaning here. Before we get started, we want to make sure that we have two pieces of protective equipment. First, we want to put on safety goggles. So safety goggles are something you want on when cleaning, because you're going to have fluids and lead and that kind of thing coming out as you clean. You don't want that getting in your eyes. Also, you could get safety goggles that actually have little lights on them, which is sometimes helpful, especially if you're working with like rifles or other things that have intricate parts on them. For the handgun, you don't really need those lights. It's just an option. The other piece of protective equipment you want is to have a good pair of nitrile gloves to put on your hands to, again, protect yourself from any type of lead or other things touching your skin that you don't want on there. So we're going to go ahead and put on a pair of gloves on each hand, making sure that we are ready to do our firearm cleaning. Now that we have gloves on both hands, again, we're going to get back to those safe steps. So we want to securely unload the firearm. So we talked about earlier how to properly unload. And remember, the first thing we want to do with a semi-automatic, we want to strip that magazine out. That's our source of ammunition. We're going to set that aside. We've stripped the magazine out. Now we want to ammo remove. So we're going to rack that slide, and we're going to get rid of the ammo that's in the chamber, and then at least 3 more times we're going to rack that slide, making sure the ammo is removed. We're going to lock that slide open, and we're going to do our finger check down into the chamber and magazine well, and chamber and barrel. Finally, we're going to do our eye check. We're going to look down into that magazine well and chamber area and through the chamber and the barrel, making sure that light is coming through. Now I can be sure that this is cleared to do a good, safe cleaning. This is particularly important for a Glock style pistol, because in order to disassemble it, I have to press the trigger. So I want to make sure there is nothing inside of there. So now that we have this securely cleared, securely unloaded, we now want to make sure that all parts are removed for cleaning. So the way we're going to do this is, the first thing we need to do is we need to press the trigger as mentioned. So we're going to press that trigger. And now what we've got to do is, you'll notice that there are little tiny little buttons on either side here. We're going to use our fingers to press down on those slightly as we pull the slide just a hair back. I'm going to press down on those, and then the slide will come right off the top there. So now I've taken the slide off of the frame. Now I want to remove the spring here. Be careful, it can be under high pressure at times. I'm going to set that down. And finally, I'm going to remove the barrel by just pushing up on it here, getting it at a slight angle, push forward and out. And it comes apart just like that. Now, when I go to, now that I've got all my parts removed, now I want to use my fluids to clean, and I want to wipe my fluids. So the first little trick that I like to do is, I need to get down these railings on either side of this slide. So for me, what I like to do is I like to set it on its end like this. I put it on its end, and I'm going to take my fluids. Now, there's different types of fluids you can use. You can use a separate cleaner and a separate lubricant, all that good stuff, or you can use something that's kind of like a 2-in-1 formula here. So I'm just going to use something that both cleans and lubricates at the same time. For me, that's just a quicker, easier way to do it. You might have your own preference, and that's okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a little drop, maybe 1 or 2 drops, on both ends of that railing there. And now I'm going to turn it like that, and you'll notice that we now have all of that fluid running down both sides of the railing as I work on cleaning the rest of my firearm. So I'm going to let that work while I do the rest of this. Next, I'm going to take my brush. Now you'll notice that this is a kit that I have here. It came with a fluid, it came with some patches, it's got a brush. Kind of comes with everything you need. It's a nice handy little kit. You can get it for whatever caliber you need for your firearm. You'll notice the brush has a big end and a small end. I'm going to start by using the big end. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put a couple of drops of fluid right there on the brush. I'm going to go through and I'm going to start wiping, and I'm going to try to get all the major metal areas here, especially on my firearm inside of here. So I'm working on the frame first. That's the first thing I'm going to work on. I'm going to try to get everywhere that I might have some type of lead or buildup. So I'm going to make sure that I do really good on the metal parts especially, but also on the other areas as well. I just want to get it all kind of clean. And then once I've done that with the big brush, I'm going to move to the little brush, and I'm going to put just a couple drops on there. And I'm going to get in a little better on some of those areas, especially like where the railing is going to be. I'm going to get in there really good. Try to get in those little areas. Try to get all the metal parts clean as best I can. And it doesn't have to be perfect. You just want to get most of the gunk off. That's really what you're after here. So I'm going to get this all kind of cleaned up just as a quick demonstration here. I've got that all clean. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to my barrel. And in this little kit, you'll notice that I've got a little threaded handle, and it'll have the appropriate caliber brush to go down the barrel based on what size kit I bought. I'm going to just screw that brush right into there, and I am going to put a little bit of lubrication on that brush. Doesn't have to be a lot, just a little. And I'm going to push into my barrel, pushing out the gunk. Now, you don't have to do this. Some people go back and forth. It's a good idea to unscrew each time and only push one direction on your barrel if at all possible. So try to push just one way if at all possible. And you don't have to do it any certain amount of times. Usually just like 3, 4, 5 passes, whatever works for you. It's not a specified number. You just want to kind of get most of that gunk out of there. So there, I've done it 3 times. I'm going to call that good for now. I'm going to set everything down. I'm going to come back with my little brush, and I'm going to clean up on the outsides of it here and just get that all cleaned up, nice and rubbed down. You'll notice all the stuff coming off on my gloves here, getting nice and messy. That's why we wear the gloves. All right, so now I've kind of wiped down my frame. I've wiped down my barrel pretty decently. Now the last part is my slide. And look at here, you'll notice that I've gotten down the railings. I have gotten the lubrication all the way down there. Now I can take this brush with the big end, get these main areas of the slide all in here, and then I use my little end of the brush to get right down those railings, make sure that everything's cleaned out of there. Now, one thing I want you to be cautious of, you don't have to be super picky when cleaning this. You can kind of get it all rubbed down with the brush, but try to be careful. Try not to get too much fluid right back in here where your firing pin is. You just don't want an excess buildup. It's okay if you get a little bit on there, but you certainly don't want to be rubbing all around on that with your fluid. You want to try to keep it off as best as possible. So now I've gone through, I've cleaned all that area up. Now that I've used my fluids to clean, I want to wipe all of those fluids off. So I'm going to take a patch here, and I'll just grab a few of them. I'm going to take a clean patch, and I'm going to go ahead and wipe down this frame, or this slide, excuse me. I'm just going to wipe it down all around all the areas that I wiped just now with my fluids. I'm going to wipe it all down, make sure that I get in there into the railings, make sure that's all wiped out. And one particular area you usually want to pay attention to is the opening there on the slide where the muzzle sits, because that really gets dirty. So get that cleaned out pretty good. Got that all cleaned out in there. Everything's wiped down pretty decent on my slide. I'm going to set that over here. And now I'm going to work on wiping out the frame here. I want to get the frame wiped out really good. And just wipe it down. Doesn't have to be perfect. You just want to make sure that you get the majority of it off of there. So got this all pretty much good to go. Now, the last thing is my barrel. There are a couple different things you can do with the barrel. So you can take this little part that usually comes with a cleaning kit, and you'll notice that it's got a little eyelet in it. and you can slide a patch into that eyelet like so. Pull it through and just kind of have a rough area like that. You can connect this to your rod, your cleaning rod, and you can push it through that barrel. Again, you only want to push one direction if at all possible. Now you'll see that gets a lot of stuff off of there. However, there are some better methods. You can take a patch here and you can use what's called a jag. And a jag is going to come in the appropriate size for your barrel. You just put this little metal piece right down the center of your little cloth, turn it on to the rod, and after you've got it in there, you'll slide that through the barrel just like we did the other thing. But this one is made for your barrel specifically so you get a tighter fit. You'll see it gets a little more of the gunk off. So that's one thing you can use. The last thing you can use is what's called a squeegee, a barrel squeegee. You can put that into your rod, and you'll notice you don't need anything on here because this is all made of rubber, so it's no problem. You just put that in and rub it right through your barrel, and it's going to squeegee right through your barrel. And you notice how tight that was? That really gets that last little bit of gunk off there. So any of these methods can work. There's no particular way you have to do it. These are just 3 different ways you can use it. You can use either the eyelet with a patch, you can use a jag with a patch, or you can use a squeegee. And there's no set number of times to do it. You just do it until pretty much the junk stops coming off of there. Now all we have to do is put it all back together. So to put it back together, what we're going to do is we want to first of all take our barrel with our slide. We're going to put that barrel in, and you'll notice I kind of come at an angle here to get it in there. I'm just going to slide it in there at a little bit of an angle, and then I set it down and slide it back, and it goes into place for me. Now I've got to go back to that spring. The spring you don't have to clean. Some people like to, some people don't. It's not a necessity. It's going to function fine without it. You want to put the small end of that spring back into the little tiny opening at the front of the slide, and then you're going to slide this back into the half moon shape. You'll notice there's a flat area and a half moon shape. So flat area, half moon shape. You want to put this big part of the spring into that half moon shape area there, like so. There, got it in there. Now all I have to do is take my firearm, and I'm going to line the railings up so that it just goes on there straight. Let's get that lined up. Line those up there. There we go. I'm lined up. Now all I've got to do is pull it all the way to the rear and let go. And now you can see I've got it all put back together here. And the last step is to ensure functioning. Ensure functioning. So what I want to do is I want to do a quick press and then rack that slide. Maybe press it a second time. I just want to make sure everything appears to be functioning normal. And that's all there is to cleaning a Glock style semi-automatic pistol.